day 3, Wednesday at Hannover Messe. The fun continues as the hot topics keep coming in. We have a great next set of speakers coming to the stage. We're going to talk battery manufacturing knowledge graphs, unlocking actionable insights. And the two gentlemen that have the keys to unlock that are two friends of mine that I know by first name only, Akash and Sergey. Come on up to the stage.
Pleasure to talk about how at Vercor we are leveraging on knowledge graph to build better data products. So Vercor is a French-based battery manufacturing company, kind of driving the sustainable mobility ecosystem in France. And I'm Akash, a senior digital engineer at Vercor, leading the semantic journey and helping Vercor to build interesting data products around knowledge graph.
And I'm Sergey Patsko. I lead data and AI for intelligent industry. And it's a pleasure to have this talk with you, Akash, today. I would like to mention that Capgemini is a true believer in the energy transition, and batteries is a very important component of that. Thanks to the leadership of Pierre Bagnon and also Tim Gerkens, who is here, Capgemini has invested a lot of time and effort to actually understand this process of battery manufacturing and became one of the industry leaders who can help our clients in setting up the whole process. So we can set up the whole green factory for battery manufacturing. And the process is quite complex. As you can see at the top of the slide, it goes from battery design to raw materials, to manufacturing. The manufacturing is also not very easy because it's a combination of discrete and process manufacturing. And then, of course, you have the usage of the batteries and recycling back. So a lot of data is produced during this process, which is very important. But again, I would like to re-emphasize that Capgemini helps not only with the data and AI in this process, but actually we are subject matter experts. We have Battery Academy. We have our experts and research and development teams who can help you to improve this process. There are multiple use cases in this process. You can see those use cases at the bottom of this page. Some of them are business use cases. For example, traceability or digital passport for the battery, which is now the requirements of the regulations in the European Union. Some other use cases are more technical, such as master data management or data lineage. And addressing those use cases, we will be discussing today, and what is the role of knowledge graph in these use cases.
Indeed.
When you think about these use cases and how you address them, and some of those slides today will be a little bit technical, a very traditional data stack, how would you deploy those applications to solve for those business use cases, will look like this. So you take the data from siloed systems. It can be your ERP systems. It can be your IT, OT systems. You move this data into a data lake or a data warehouse. And then, dependent on the business questions you have on the right-hand side of this slide, depending on the business use case, for example, on the quality or on traceability or on any other business use case, you have to create your own data model, data mart, and then create some dashboard and analytics based on this specific business use case. This very traditional approach has a lot of challenges. One of the key challenges is what we call swampification. It means that you have so much data in your data lake, you don't know the data lineage, you don't know where this data came from, that then managing this data becomes really a challenge, and scaling those use cases becomes a challenge. So how to avoid this? How to create a new data stack, a modern data stack that does not have those issues? And there are three major things that we wanted to achieve together with Vercor, while helping Vercor in this journey. Is number one, how to adopt this modern software engineering practice where we can separate data from applications. So essentially, you're having dry data, which you don't need to replicate. You have data products, and then multiple different applications would use these data products. In this case, you can avoid this swampification of the data stack, and you can actually create the data stack, which is application agnostic. So then you can scale those multiple use cases and business applications. So the solution that we advised to consider to Vercor, and they have successfully implemented together with us, was consideration of enterprise knowledge graph. And specifically, we actually thought that because it's a manufacturing process, then PPR framework, which is product process requirement framework, makes perfect sense. What it does is connecting the dots between the product, what you manufacture, in our case it's a battery, the process, which is a very complex, as we just saw a few slides before, very complex manufacturing process to create this product. And this process actually uses resources, right? Some raw materials and components and so on. As you can see from that slide, even if we consider separately product, process, and resources, in each of those domains, you will have multiple IT/OT systems that has data about product or has data about process. So you need to start contextualizing and connecting the dots between those data points. And by creating so, you're creating what we call semantic layer. That's the middle layer, the knowledge graph that says, OK, to manufacture this specific product, I need these steps in the process and these components. And you create semantic and ontology. By doing so, you're separating your data stack from your application stack. And you are achieving scalability in applications and also in data. So that's a little bit how we approach the problem. And now, Akash, I will hand over to you to talk how you have implemented this at Vercor.
Sure. Thank you, Sergey, for explaining the context of it. I think we already used a couple of times the keyword enterprise knowledge graph. So what is this enterprise knowledge graph? Enterprise knowledge graph is wherein we kind of bring all the business data at one place, interconnected, based on the real world concepts and facts, and formalized. By formalized, I mean to say we make it machine readable as well. And advantages of it, it improves the findability and understandability of the data in its context. And it helps us to build fast-to-market solutions in terms of data product. And we become proactive in making decisions from this data itself. Well, at Vercor, while having this enterprise knowledge graph, our primary use case is traceability. And given enterprise knowledge graph is kind of a single source of truth, it's pretty easier, I would say, comparatively of the traditional data stack to build these kind of complex use cases from the knowledge graph itself. And not only these functional use cases, in fact, we are also able to break down the technical barriers while we are working on use cases like externalizing the data to customers for a specific need, building out working on topics like data governance, where we want to work on master data management as well, and so on. Just talked about the formalization of the knowledge, which is called ontology. So ontology being the foundation of knowledge graph, at Vercor, we have a very specific way of building ontology. Thanks to the open data platform, there are a lot of domain-level ontologies already available in the market. So we kind of adapt to this domain-level ontology. For example, there's something called BVCO, Battery Value Chain Ontology. And we suit it to fit to the Vercor needs of manufacturing. And taking the battery value chain ontology, we built something called battery manufacturing ontology for Vercor. And I'm just going to show a small use case around it with a demo. So, battery manufacturing is an intricate process wherein we combine different raw materials and semi-finished product across different phases of manufacturing, eventually using many legacy systems, generating huge amount of data. And to keep a good check on quality, we must keep track of end-to-end manufacturing process. And the biggest business question here is, how do we conduct the root cause analysis on our process scrap? And let's say in case of customer questions on the quality of our product, these kind of use cases help us to be proactive on answering to customers as well. So taking the use case of traceability, thanks to the PPR framework, which you just explained, Sergi. So we took these entities, product, process, and resources, and we started building out concepts out of it, which is like product, raw material, process, machines, etc. And then we look into the domain level ontology, that was BVCO, and we tried to build relationships across these entities. Once we have this relationship, we call it process ontology. We try to adapt it to the Vercore's way of manufacturing battery. And we kind of arrive to a more complex relationship across these graphs. Once we have our conceptual model ready, we formalize it, and then we need some kind of semantic platform to host this ontology. At Vercore, we are using Stardog as our semantic platform. Thanks to Stardog, we are able to virtualize the data. So we host our ontology on Stardog, and we are able to connect to this semantic model different data sources and eventually externalize it. We will see it in detail in our demo in the next slide. Just to go to the demo. So you see we have a conceptual model which we normally built over Neo4j arrows, wherein we put all our classes, concepts, and that's the front end of Stardog, where you have different ways of interacting with your models. You have Explorer, Studio. This is actually our formalized model, how it looks over Stardog Explorer, and the formalized model connected to different data sources. Multiple data sources can be connected to same concepts. And these are the Stardog mapping syntax, which helps us to, this kind of translates our query. And here you see the query performances as well. So taking an example, we wanted to trace back the semi-finished product from material. We can even write codeless queries on it. And it gives you a better visualization of the results, very well connected, easy to understand. And using this, we made an in-house application at Vercore, which kind of leverages on semantic layer. So you have all the cells which we produce, and we have all the traceability from the beginning till the end. You can see the semi-finished product used, raw materials used, the relevant process parameters in here. So, I mean, without having a very well-built ontology itself, these kind of use cases will take a lot of toll. And even a small change in the upstream in the legacy system can break down all of these. So that's the advantage of having a knowledge graph at Vercore.
So now at Vercore, you have switched from this legacy and very traditional data stack that we have explained in the very beginning of the presentation to a modern data stack, and this is probably the highest level possible to explain this modern data stack, where you can see that the data comes from the left-hand side from different systems through the data pipelines and data ingestion, and then it is virtualized through the help of the knowledge graph here in the middle. And this piece in the middle, this semantic layer, is separating data from applications and allows Vercore now to scale with more and more applications without being dependent on rewiring data pipelines all the time. Also, they have now flexibility to change, if necessary, for example, MES system from one factory to another factory without changing anything in the application. So that's the beauty of the knowledge graph and the use case of traceability, which is critical for the industry explained by Akash. It would be almost impossible to implement without this semantic layer, without this architecture of the knowledge graph.
Indeed.
So Capgemini has helped Vercore in creating this strategy, the data strategy, the architectures, and also considering different vendors to implement this knowledge graphs. And Stardogs was one of the vendors that we have advised, but there were others, and Akash and his team has chosen Stardog as one of the implementation partners. And Akash,
Indeed.
I will get back to you to actually finish this talk on maybe some lessons learned. What was helpful?
Sure. We had an advantage at Vercore given we are a greenfield project. We started from scratch. So something which we would really ask any enterprise who is going on a semantic journey is to start early, before you have already set up the functional workflow in your legacy system. It helps you to understand the business operations easily, and you will have a much more interesting models built out of these legacy system. And having domain experts in your knowledge engineering team is also a big help, because it helped us to accelerate the semantic journey and ramp up quickly. And to kind of unify the jargon, data producers and consumers have a different language. They kind of use different words to quote the same data points. So it's always good to keep them aligned while you are working on these topics. And very interesting thing is there is something called litmus test. So every time you have a business question you are trying to answer, try to break it down into small sub-questions. And when you are ready with your model, validate your model with these small sub-questions. That will help you to avoid a lot of reworks as well. So until now, it's going good for Vercor. Hoping for having much more use cases in future as well around enterprise knowledge graph. Thank you, Sergi. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Akash. Thank you for this presentation. Thanks.
Happy to answer any questions around knowledge graph if someone have.
And got one question here. Thank you.
So I have a question. So the knowledge graph is a kind of intermediate layer. So is there any performance penalty for the application using data? So they used to be accessing directly the database, and now there is a knowledge graph in between. What can you tell us there?
Very good question. Well, in the beginning, when we started working on building our knowledge graph, we did had a performance issue. And we realized for sure it's going to be a trade-off between performance and having a better data governance. But the business questions where you are kind of tapping in data from multiple sources, I think graph performs or graph outperforms the traditional relational database in answering these questions. So I would say, don't worry about performance. It will come into place. Just start your semantic journey. Perfect.
Sergey, Akash, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Akash.
Have a good evening.
Yes.
Bye-bye.